Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy's Ted.
And this GM wants to try and enchant this reluctant player into D&D using Harry Potter.
Jump down in the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
So we have a GM 911, which you can see the original post in the description below. As well as if you have a GM 911 of your own, you can send it over to nerdarchy@gmail.com, GM 911 in the subject line.
All right, so we have Andrew's request. He's got a new player to the game who's very, very interested in Harry Potter, and he wants to take as much of Harry Potter and put it into his D&D game. He's already incorporated the Ministry of Magic, but he's like, what do I do next?
So there's a little bit more to this GM 911, but that's the part you think's important. Okay. That's completely okay. And it is part of the GM 911. But Andrew also goes on to say he's got 4 players, and this particular one is a friend of another player, not really interested in D&D, but is interested in Harry Potter, and that's where we go back to that. See, I see this as being a larger problem that may not even be able to be solved. This is actually the same as, the spouse that shows up or the partner that shows up that is really there to hang out more so than they are to play the game. Now, it's possible that this person will get hooked on D&D and, incorporating Harry Potter is going to help. So we're going to talk about that, but first I just wanted to address what I saw like the underlying problem being.
So, yes, there is that angle to his request. There is no way to force someone to have an interest, but if you show them aspects of the game that they weren't aware of, if you show them things that are fun, there's ways to foster that love. If they wind up coming on board and joining the RPG wagon, great. If they wind up trickling off and leaving the game, that's okay too.
Like, one of the first things I feel like you have to do is gauge their participation level, right? How much are they willing to participate? Because if you do like all this extra work to try and engage them, but that engagement actually drives them out, but because it's just too much, they weren't ready for that. They're like, man, I'm going to show up, hang out with my friend, I'm going to chill, do the thing, but they're constantly like under this onslaught of D&D. And these things are put in for them. They feel obligated. It might be more pressure for them.
So part of that could be a conversation away from the table, away from everyone else. Like literally get them where they're comfortable and there's no gaming stuff nearby, so that they don't feel any added pressure, and just have a conversation and see what they are looking for, what they want out of it, and see what you can do there.
Yeah, so that also like kind of comes back to a session 0 anyway. Like with everyone, like what are their expectations? What are they trying to get out of this? What do they want to get out of this? And so you as the GM can figure out how to accommodate that.
Right.
And then from there you can think about how much Harry Potter you want to put in your game. I mean, I'm pretty sure we've actually done videos on playing Harry Potter as a game using Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
So, there's a whole lot for us to talk about. I mean, we can, but we're going to be going over some stuff we've done. But the biggest thing is like figuring out what the underlying problems are and addressing them. And then from there you can move on and decide like how much participation that this player is going to want. And then you can start trying to engage them on that level of their interest. And this would like apply for anything. It doesn't matter if they like, if they like Dragon's Lair from back in the 80s, or they like Harry Potter, or they like Star Wars. Anytime you can kind of like take elements and put it into the game to make it more interesting for your players, that's a great idea. But, even better is like talking to them in that conversation and finding out what they like about Harry Potter, right? What if you put in the elements they hated?
So and there is one caveat. If you're going to change your game drastically for one player, make sure that you're not changing it so much that you're driving your regular players or the people who already have the love away from the game. You have to walk that fine line.
Yeah, and most of this is really, It's just a matter of having some conversations. Now a Ministry of Magic, that could be a really cool thing, and it's also something you can change and evolve too, right? So it doesn't have to be exactly like Harry Potter.
So I would look at it as like it's the magic police. You've got rules of magic, and since you have heroes that are your player characters, there are laws. So what if the players wind up working for the Ministry of Magic? What if they're, signed up to be RRs or what have you? You could go on this chase of their own, chasing down dark wizards. It doesn't have to be, go fight Voldemort. There's plenty of dark wizards that are out there in a D&D world. So you could go down that road. You could go ahead and add in your house elves and your goblins. You've already got goblins, but like in the Harry Potter world, they're different. So you add some unique goblins that fit more into that mythos. You make some new monsters based off of some of the creatures that appear in the books. And hey, you know what? It'll be cool for those Harry Potter fans to encounter said creature.
Right. I mean, a College of Wizardry is not out of line for a D&D game, for a D&D world. You could kind of take some of those really fantastical elements from Harry Potter and Hogwarts and incorporate that into a city or a town, so that it'll be some familiar stuff. But instead of just being the wizard school, it would be like the whole town is like that. You're just creating this pocket of high magic, and maybe there's a reason why they had to do that, in order to for the same reason actually that there is now magic police. So now it's like people with magical talent, they're brought to this place. Maybe they have recruiters that kind of go out and look for them to bring them to this place, very much kind of like Harry Potter. Like they would bring them into the school. There's the recruiters, and maybe you could steal from Dresden a little bit, where a lot of times those practicing dark magics are the ones that haven't gone to school. Maybe they don't even know about the rules, but they would still fall, they still fall under them. So, either the players would have to go out and enforce that, or, you could introduce it as one of the NPCs they're friends with is misusing magic because they don't know there's rules for using magic, and maybe they have to defend them. So there's definitely a lot of plot hooks you can come up with from that stuff.
And then you can just steal some of the lore, some of the things that are out there, some of the characters, and literally rip them right out of the current modern world that we live now and drop them straight into a fantasy world, and there's literally no difference. It would allow them to really be engrossed in the game, especially if you rip out their favorite character from the story. What if they met Professor McGonagall as a cat, and she transforms right in front of them, and it's like, oh, that's so cool, I remember that from the books. You could have that kind of thing show up, and that could pull them in more.
You can do that, but what I kind of like to do is do that, but kind of like file off the serial numbers, and so then you put it in there more like Easter eggs than direct lifts. And I feel like players like that too, and they'll like figure it out, like, because you don't just hand it to them. They're like, aha, and like they've solved a riddle.
Yes, that was another thing that I was considering, is as opposed to making it blatant. You put some subtle clues in, and if they connect the dots, then it's as you said, the aha moment.
Right. Like you could do stuff with the cat and the professor, and then eventually it clicks and they figure out the cat and the professor are the same person, and then they get to feel smart. And I feel like players like the Easter eggs.
So, do you have any further suggestions for Andrew? It's a great place to do that. That's down in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can check us out at nerdarchy.com.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.